Chapter 3. Truman Finds Trouble. I wasn't the only one learning how to foster a pet. Mom and Dad were learning too. Every day brought new lessons. "Oh, Truman," Mom said, looking sadly at her ripped book bag, "you found trouble." "Oh, Truman," Dad said, looking at a chewed shoe, "you found trouble." "Oh, Truman and Ollie," I said, looking at a torn, empty box of dog treats, "you found trouble." I gave both dogs' bellies a quick rub. "Well, at least you two are happy." Dad and Mom quickly learned our lessons, and I. When we couldn't watch Truman, we put him in his crate. We made sure there was nothing he could rip or chew on the floor. Unlike short little Ollie, Truman could reach the countertop when he stood on his hind legs. So we cleared off everything. Our daily routine went like this. In the morning, before Dad took me to school, I fed Ollie and Truman. After school, Mom and I took the dogs for a walk. During homework time, Ollie slept on his side on one side of me. Truman slept on the other side. After dinner, we played. At bedtime, when Dad read a story to me, Ollie and Truman listened too. The five of us were a happy, furry foster family. A couple weeks later, Mom and I came home to a big surprise. "Yip, yip, yip!" Ollie greeted us at the door like he always did. But then, woof, woof! "Truman, how did you get out of your crate?" I asked. "Maybe I forgot to close the gate," Mom said. Woof, woof! Truman rose on his hind legs and licked my face. I laughed and gently pushed him away. After I did that, my hand felt sticky. Why? Before I could figure that out, Ollie ran into the other room. He usually followed me when I got home. Something wasn't right. Truman wagged his tail. I saw a yogurt lid stuck to his back. The fur on his head looked matted and oily. Someone had found trouble. "Mom?" I said, looking around, my eyes wide. "Oh, my goodness!" Mom cried. "What is all of this?" The trash can was tipped over. Dirty wrappers, broken eggshells, banana peels, and other trash covered the kitchen floor. Truman nudged my legs. Potato chip crumbs dusted his nose. "Ew, you stink!" I cried. Truman's tongue hung out, like he was smiling, pleased with himself. He ran to the middle of the floor and rolled around in the trash, back and forth. The eggshells crunched. He slid on the banana peels. He waved all four paws in the air. He sure was a happy dog. "Oh, Truman," Mom said, "you found trouble. You need a bath." I hurried to the bathroom and filled the tub with warm water. Then, when Truman heard the water running, he ran into my room. He tried to hide under the bed. He did not want a bath. Ollie poked his nose into my room. He smelled Truman, backed up, and ran down the hall. I didn't blame him. Truman was stinking up my room fast. "Truman, it's okay. We just want to get you cleaned up," I said. "Baths are fun." I talked in a calm voice while Mom hooked his leash to his collar. We walked Truman to the bathroom and he sat down in the hallway. That was it. He wouldn't go any farther. I pushed. The dog would not move. "I don't get it. I thought Truman would like water because he's part Labrador Retriever," I said. "Every dog is different," Mom said. That's when I got an idea. I ran to Truman's crate and got his rubber ducky. Holding the toy over his head, I said, "Truman, get your ducky." I tossed the toy into the tub. Splash! Truman's ears perked up. He leaped. Splash! Truman was in the tub. Mom and I quickly soaked him up. He sat still with his toy in his mouth. We scrubbed, we rubbed, we rinsed. Soon Truman was clean again. He jumped out of the tub. Shake, 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 shake. He shook the water from his fur. Now Mom and I were all wet. We started laughing. "You are a good dog, Truman," I said, hugging him. Chapter 4, Old Friends, New Friends. Ollie, Truman, and I had great fun together. We loved to go on walks and play fetch. The three of us made a good team. I started to wonder if my family was forever home. One day, my best friend Hannah came over. She liked Ollie a lot, but she was nervous to meet Truman. "Don't worry. He is one terrific dog," I said to her. Hannah and I went to my room. Yip, yip, yip. Ollie loved Hannah. He wiggled and squirmed like a puppy in her lap. I ran to my parents' room and got Truman from his crate. He barked and licked my face. Woof, woof. Before I could stop him, he ran down the hall toward my room. "Truman, wait for me!" I laughed. When Truman got to my room, he stopped in the doorway. He saw Hannah sitting on my bed. He did not go in. I walked past him and sat next to Hannah and Ollie. Truman stood and looked at us for a long time. He wagged his tail but stayed in the hall. "It's okay, Truman," I said. "This is Hannah. She's my best friend." Truman sat down. "Look, Ollie loves Hannah," I said. Ollie wagged his tail and licked Hannah's face. Truman slowly stepped into my room. He crept to my side and stuck close to my leg, away from Hannah. He kept watching her. "He can be shy with new people," I said. "It takes a little time for him to feel safe." I remembered when Truman first met my family. "Truman, I want to be your friend," Hannah said. "Do you want to be mine?" She held out her hand, palm up. She stayed very still. Truman carefully leaned across me. He sniffed her hand. Hannah smiled. Truman thumped his tail. "Good boy," she said. "Woof, woof." Truman licked Hannah's hand. She giggled. "Truman, you're a terrific dog," she said. "I told you," I said. I was so glad all four of us were friends now. We grabbed some toys and went to the backyard to play. "Kaida, you really like Truman, don't you?" Hannah asked. "I do," I said. "He's the perfect fit for my family." Hannah smiled, but she looked a little sad too. "Too bad he can't stay here forever. It's going to be hard to say goodbye." I didn't want to think about that. Dad made my favorite dinner that night, hamburgers with fried eggs. Right after we sat down at the table, Mom said, "Guess what?" "What?" I asked. "Joss called me today. She might have a family for Truman," she said with a smile. "That's great," Dad said. I looked down at the floor. On one side of my chair was Ollie. On the other side was Truman. What would it be like when Truman wasn't here anymore? I felt a tug in my heart and a lump in my throat. "So what happens next?" I asked. I leaned down and patted Truman's head. I rubbed his ears. "Joss will make sure the family is good for Truman," Mom said. "After that, the family will call me or your dad. They'll ask us questions about Truman, and we'll tell them everything about him. I think he sounds like the right dog for them. They will come to our house. If they think he sounds like the right dog for them, they will come to our house to meet him. Be sure to tell them he needs to be crated," I said. "Tell them he eats things that are not food, like trash and blankets. Remember what he did to your book bag and Dad's shoe? Remember the mess in my room?" "Yes, we will tell them the truth about Truman," Dad said. "We want Truman to find his forever home." "Be sure to tell them he doesn't like baths. Tell them he is shy," I said. Mom put down her hamburger and looked at me. We will also be sure to tell them all the terrific things about him too. He loves other dogs. He knows how to sit, come, stay, and lie down. And loving. Are you sad about Truman leaving, Kaida? Asked Dad. I didn't feel like eating any more, even if it was my favorite dinner. I looked down at my plate and nodded. Honey, we talked about this, remember? Mom said. I know, I said. Truman's just so. By fostering, we are helping a lot of animals, instead of just one or two that we would be able to adopt, Mom continued. Dad reached over and rubbed my shoulder. I know it's tough, Kaida, he said. You've done a great job with Truman. He had a safe, loving home away from home with us. We taught him good manners. We also learned what makes him special, so we can help him find a good match with a family. Mom's eyes got a little wet. She smiled and said, no matter what happens, Truman will always have a place in your heart. He'll have one in your dad's heart and my heart too. I knew all of this. Of course I wanted to help animals, but I had fallen in love with Truman. How could I say goodbye? Chapter 5, A Terrific Dog. The family that Joss told us about was not the right fit for Truman. They called and talked to Dad. The family loved to go fishing, and they wanted a dog to take to the lake. Dad told them he wasn't sure Truman would like the lake. Truman hated baths. To Truman, a lake would seem like one big bathtub. A day later, a man called and talked to Mom. He wanted a quiet house dog, one he could leave in his house while he went to work. Mom told him that Truman sometimes chewed things like blankets or rugs when he was alone. He wouldn't be a good fit for the man. Another week went by. Joss says that older dogs are harder to find homes for. Many people want puppies, said Mom. Truman is housebroken. He's already trained. That makes things easier for a family, I said. Dad nodded. True, he said. Does this mean you aren't sad anymore about finding a home for Truman? I was still a little sad about Truman leaving, but I was sadder that nobody wanted to adopt him. He was a good dog. He deserved a forever family. Finally, 4 days later, Mom had good news. Mr. and Mrs. Garcia and their son Ben are coming to the house on Saturday to meet Truman, she said. Did you tell them everything? I asked. Did you tell them that Truman is terrific, but that sometimes he finds trouble too? I did. They thought his antics were cute, Mom said. I crossed my fingers. I loved having Truman here with us, but I wanted him to find his own home. On Saturday morning, I cleaned my room. I gathered all of Truman's toys and put them in his toy bag. Dad put Truman's bed next to the bag by the front door. We didn't know if his family would be a good fit. We hoped they would be. The doorbell rang. Yip, yip, yip. Woof, woof. I put Ollie in my room. I didn't want him to distract the Garcia family from Truman. Mr. Garcia was tall. He smiled a lot. Mrs. Garcia wore jeans and a t-shirt with a picture of a dog on it. Ben was older than me, almost a teenager. The minute he saw Truman, he kneeled down. Truman hid behind my mom. I looked at Ben. I was worried that he would be upset, but he just smiled. I kneeled down too. It's okay, Truman. These people want to meet you, I said. Truman peeked around my mom's legs and looked at me. Then, wagging his tail, he walked right over to Ben and licked his cheek. Ben laughed. He's beautiful, Mr. Garcia said. Truman went to Mrs. Garcia and sat down in front of her. What a good boy, she said, patting his head. He is terrific, Ben said, turning to me. Your dad said he sometimes gets into trouble. I do too. It looks like you and Truman will become best friends, I said. I hope so, Ben said. I think Truman will be perfect for our family, Mrs. Garcia said. Can we take him home? I handed Truman's leash to Ben. Mr. and Mrs. Garcia gathered Truman's things. I let Ollie out of my room so he could say goodbye. Right before it was time for him to leave, I hugged Truman tight. Have a wonderful